Well, okay. Well, welcome to the latest in our Finance for Expats webinar series. Today we will be talking about investing in UK property for expats. We're joined today by Jason Swan and Chris Allen of Holborn Assets, and I'll hand over to them in a moment. If you have any questions at any stage, please use the Q&A button at the top of your screen and put them in, and we will answer them as we go through or at the end of the session, depending on how things work out. Anything where we miss, we will leave and then follow up afterwards by email. So if I could hand over to you, Jason, and leave you to introduce yourself and explain about investing in UK property. Cheers.
Yeah, super. No, thanks, Nigel, and thanks for letting us come on the website with Expat Network. It's a pleasure to feature for the first time, and welcome to everyone who's joined us so far. As Nigel said, this morning we're going to cover everything that you could possibly ever need to know about investing into property in the UK. Just to introduce myself briefly, my name is Jason Swan. I'm one of our senior partners here at Holborn. I've been with Holborn now around a couple of years now. I've been in the industry for about 10 years, and previously had a lot of success helping clients build big portfolios in the UK market specifically. So hopefully we've got some real good value to add this afternoon. I myself work as a wealth manager, and property is one particular asset class which often comes up in conversation when we're looking to build our clients' portfolios and diversify away from things like the stock markets and fixed interest products and so forth. So yeah, pleasure to be talking to everyone this morning. I've invited the head of our property division as well, Mr. Chris Allen, who will be coming on shortly. Will introduce himself as well. I'm just going to start to share my screen, if I may. Just run you through briefly the agenda, and then I'll bring Chris in then to introduce himself and take us through a few slides. So as we go through this morning, first of all, again, Chris will give us a bit of a brief introduction to exactly what it is that Holborn do to help expats overseas buy good property in the UK and the service that comes with that. I will also touch on, why we should be looking to invest in the UK. How does the UK rank up towards other parts of the world? What are the key points we consider in the UK right now? The key hotspots, the UK hotspots for where we should be looking. Again, Chris will cover off how we look at different countries, and then once we look at those hot countries, what parts of those countries are then looking to achieve best yield and the best potential for capital growth as well. We'll cover off mortgage lending as an expat for those that are not looking to buy perhaps outright cash. We'll cover off what deposits are needed to buy in the UK, what kind of interest rates are available, and give you a rundown on what to expect there as well. And also the benefits of buying perhaps under a limited company name, for anyone that's looking to start to build a portfolio or to continue building a portfolio, should you be considering, setting up a company in the UK to purchase those properties under, compared to buying those in your personal name? Are there any tax benefits of that? And again, an overview of the pros and cons of that also. And then we'll give you a run through really on how effortless we can make it when it comes to Holborn helping you to source the best opportunities in the UK, and the kind of one-stop shop that we offer, to make that process as easy as possible. And then to finish off, we want to kind of keep it conversational, and we'll welcome lots of questions as we go through. So we'll have a bit of a Q&A, and please don't hesitate with any questions that you've got for either myself or Chris as we finish. And of course, we'll both be available for any conversations you wish to have on a personal basis following the call as well. But without further ado, Chris, if I could bring you on that front.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Nigel. Good to be here. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on. I work with Holborn as well, but I'm just looking at property. I don't do any of the complicated stuff. I've been with Holborn a few years. I've been in UAE, where I'm speaking to you from now. National Day here, and I believe your people watching in at the moment are all over the place. So please, if you've got any questions, don't just wait to the end. More than happy to answer them as we go. I just want to give you a little bit of an outline as what we do and why we do. So do you want to share the next slide, Jason? So the most important thing that we do is research. We are looking for areas which are going to grow in value above the average. So we're looking at places like Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, London, York, and the outsides of London as well. We do the research, looking to make sure that developers have got planning permission, making sure that the developers are well funded, and of course, and most importantly, that we can get mortgages on them. We have exclusive partnerships with the companies that we deal with. So we actually have 8 different companies we deal with, again, being due diligenced and researched, which gives us a spread of the areas that I've mentioned. By the way, we also historically have been in Berlin and Portugal, again, areas where we think there's going to be good growth. And then the last little point there, sorry, I've lost my screen, is we've got the service that Jason mentioned, which is, I don't know what's happened here, which is the full service. So although I can't see my screen, we do the mortgages, we do the letting and the management, we do the furnishing, we do everything. As Jason said, hands off, but you can't say above my shoulder here it says hassle free. It's never hassle free, and I'd like to take that off there. There are always snags along the way, but we hopefully have got the team around us that we can go get past all of those. Next slide, please. So ripple effect, that's really important when it comes to London. Central London has been very, very quiet. We must say that over the last 5 years, although we are taking on more now, because we do think London is coming back, but certainly for the last 5 years, central London has gone absolutely nowhere. So the ripple effect is those areas outside of London, those areas which are now going to be serviced by the Elizabeth line you might have heard of, or the Crossrail as it was called, where it's joining West London across to East London and cutting journey times by an enormous amount. So we like the ripple effect. We've got properties actually in High Wycombe, we've got properties in Acton, properties where we really do see there's going to be great value. Affordability, that works in 2 ways. Affordability as in, come to slide, affordability in the, it's good for the client, for you to buy, and also, most importantly, when you go on to sell. The area that you're in is going to have a lot of people that are looking to pick up your property. The next one, regeneration. Regeneration, so much going on with regeneration, so much being money spent by the government and councils in the UK. So they're regenerating, so really they're spending the money regenerating some of these areas like Birmingham, Manchester, some of the ones I've mentioned already, and you're hobby horsing on what they're doing. Infrastructure, again, I mentioned Crossrail. Another one to be mentioned would be HS2, the fast rail link that's going to take people the journey time from the north down to London and vice versa, by a considerable amount. It's been on the news, up to Birmingham, up to New Street Station, then onwards up to Manchester, and servicing the north, cutting the journey time from you could commute easily from Birmingham. And of course, that's why a lot of these big companies are setting their headquarters on up there. And I can't see this. I'm just going to do this. See if I can get this screen to go bigger. I'm sorry about that. Gentrification, I'm back. Gentrification, I think that's the same as infrastructure, where they're actually smarting out places where Birmingham, Manchester, industrial cities of old are now being gentrified and made to look beautiful. Next slide, please. Why should I invest in UK property? Medium to long, we always talk medium to long term. I don't like ever talking about short term. And certainly, if anybody knows the area I'm speaking from via the UAE, short term and people flipping property, trying to make, it just doesn't work. And so when I say medium, I'm probably saying 5 years upwards. Leveraging, huge. And wow, it's the only investment you can do where you can leverage and borrow up to 65, 70%. If you're doing that, what I like to call it is other people's money. You're using banks' money. So although you've put a third down and the property's gone up in value, you're going to see some great growth on that. So mortgages, HSBC, Barclays, Lloyds, and 32 other lenders that we deal with, depending really on where in the world you are. So yield. Now, this slide here, yield and capital appreciation. In my opinion, you can't have both. You're looking for a yield to support your pension when you retire, or you're looking for capital appreciation. You're looking for a property to go up, as I say, in that medium to long term. You can't have both, but we do actually have properties that are completed, already generating a yield. We've even got 2 properties, or 2 projects, I should say, which actually got a guaranteed yield on them. In fact, I mentioned it now, it's 7%. So anybody's in that category and wants to know more can obviously go back and ask questions of Jason. Capital hotspots. Right, we're jumping ahead. Thank you for moving me along so quickly. Any questions? Please do put in.
Sorry, Chris, I'm firing over there.
You're just.
I'm getting too excited. I can't wait for the next slide.
Yes, I know the excitement's abound. Hotspots for London, I mean, Liverpool, yes, Liverpool waters, massive regen area, lots going on there, museums going up, and you know, I've only put this slide in there, you know, with Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, York, and London, universities, students. Some of these areas have got such a great record now of retaining students. Liverpool, as you say, 60,000 students who are choosing to stay there after they finished and got their graduation. What used to happen, people would go to university in Birmingham, Manchester. I don't know where you went, Jason, but did you stay where you were in university?
No, I didn't. I was there for a while, Chris, but well, yeah, here I am in Spain.
Yes, I said, well, you're not that young. You must have done something before then, or did you? But a lot of people are choosing to stay in these areas because there is so much going on. With companies like Deutsche Bank, HSBC, mentioned earlier, BBC, ITV, all centralised, decentralising from London. And that was a mission the government set out quite a few years ago now for North Shoring, where they were encouraging people to move up to other areas and take the pressure off London after the global financial crisis. So these are areas of, look, I'm not going to go into too much detail about each and every one, but you can see there, anyone that's a football supporter, just to the left, we've got Liverpool 2 support. That's where the Everton ground is going to go. That's being built as we speak. Yes, it's obviously a fantastic city, and there's so much going on, and properties are going to go up in value. There's such a shortage of demand for all the areas we're talking about. Next slide, please. Manchester, I mentioned before, flagship, the Northern Powerhouse system, biggest regeneration projects. You can see it all there. Property prices, you know, everything actually is all about supply and demand, isn't it, Jason? I mean, whether it's property or whatever else, it's just so short. They are years behind where they're meant to be.
Just to jump in on that one, Chris, obviously I'm from Manchester originally, and I always have my eye on the property market there, but I'm seeing, I mean, two-bed terrace houses on the outskirts of Manchester, like Hyde, Staley Bridge, Duckingfield, you know, literally 6 months back, we're selling for 100, 110,000. Now seeing those same properties at 130, 140,000, and it is absolutely flying. It really is. If you go back 2 years, I not a word of a lie, I think over the past 2 or 3 years, house prices have nearly doubled in the outskirts of Manchester. It has absolutely flown, really has.
Yeah, it's and the same is true of so many of those cities up there. But we do try and stick, by the way, to the sort of grade 1 cities, or maybe say grade 2 if London's grade 1. But yeah, Manchester, Birmingham, all the areas I've mentioned, such a demand. And you know, with people like the BBC and ITV in there and televising from there, Media City, I'm not quite sure what that's, sorry, but Media City employs, you know, over 60,000 people. Manchester, yeah, you can see the point. Amazon, BBC, I mentioned, and of course the Manchester Airport has gone through a £1 billion upgrade and making it an international airport. So, and you probably know that, Jason, as well. If you've been flying in and out there for years, you must have seen some changes at the airport.
Indeed. No, personally, Manchester is my favourite. I'm a little bit biased, but we've also got not just Manchester, right, Chris?
Does that mean you're a blue or a red?
I'm a red. Don't know if I should say that live at the moment, but
well,
definitely
you've got Salford, but they're doing well. Birmingham, I mean, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but you can see the slide for yourself. Headquarters of HS2 and travel time to London, 49 minutes. It's commutable down to London, and property prices, you know, a third of what you might be paying for the same square footage in London. Commonwealth Games coming. Yeah, that's going to bring along people. Smithfield Regeneration Project, that is massive. And we've got several projects at Holborn in that regeneration area. Digbeth, talked about that earlier on with the client. That's a lovely area of Birmingham. Apparently it was voted the most beautiful village in the UK. I just can't imagine that, but somebody voted for it. Digbeth. London, you know, I always say to people, if you can afford London, you buy London, despite what I said earlier on. You know, it is the most fantastic city. The prices have been stable. We've got a really nice property at the moment in West London. It's going to be the tallest residential tower in London. That is completing in a year's time. They're up to the, well, it's actually built to top. It's already up to the very, very top. But all 19 floors have been sold and they're going up from there. Just to give you an idea on that one in particular, price is starting at 500,000 for West London. So yeah, that's a big topic. We like London. Mortgages. Nice, we've got some questions in, but mortgages. Wherever you are in the world, the conversation sometimes when you're in the local bar, it always comes down to mortgages, and you know, people say you just can't get a mortgage for an expat. Well, clearly that's not true. We've got 32 lenders that we deal with, no matter where in the world you are. And when it comes to mortgages, say somebody was interested and you're thinking, right, okay, yeah, I'm interested, and I like Birmingham. What have you got? First thing we do is what we call DIP it, decision in principle. Get a mortgage offer in principle before you go any further. Clearly, if people are self-employed or wherever it may be, it's a good idea to get that done. So we just complete a time fact find, obviously review it, look at the lenders, give you a few options, and maybe you can get a fixed rate at 4% for the next 5 years, and it's your decision. So yeah, when it comes to what a lender wants, you know, you can't really change it. It hasn't changed over the years. Proof of income, proof of address, proof of deposit, that sort of thing. But yeah, most importantly, if somebody is self-employed, that they really do that and right from the word go. So yeah, mortgages is something we're particularly proud of. We've got a very good mortgage department. So buying offshore, which all of you are obviously, 75,000 to 5 million. Rates, that's about right still. 3.5, I would say, to 4.5. We, you know, when we do a cash flow for people, I always talk about 4%. Interest only, by the way, you can do interest only in the UK. Not many parts of the world you can do that. And that obviously makes you very, very cash flow positive on an interest only mortgage, whereas the rent is going to exceed what the mortgage payment may be. 65 to 75%. I'm going to really say, I always talk about 65. I like to be safe. On a brand new build, 65%. If it's a second-hand property you're going for, then 75%. But I always talk about 65. And we do have Sharia compliant options available if anybody chooses. In fact, Sharia-based mortgage now accounts for something like 15% of the lending in the UK now. It's very popular.
Just to elaborate, if I may, Chris, on the mortgage desk, you know, for those that are not familiar with Holborn, the mortgage desk specialises working with expats worldwide. So we have a very large panel of different lenders that we can approach. So even in quite complicated situations, or you know, if you don't meet necessarily the typical criteria, shall we say, you know, we have that flexibility to, you know, to put cases to different specialist lenders to help you get the best offer. Of course, once you know you have that help from Chris finding the property. So yeah, always put it to us. But so yeah, sorry to interrupt there, Chris. Just
thank you. Cool. Chris, could I just ask a question here? many of our audience have indicated they're from the UK, working abroad, around the world. Others are expats currently living in the UK and then planning to move abroad. And then there are those who are not UK citizens at all and don't live in the UK. Are these sort of mortgage terms available to each of those groups the same, or is there sort of very different terms available according to whether you're, you know, a UK expat or a foreign expat, or indeed somebody who's never been to the UK?
A really, really good question, Nigel. I mean, somebody born, say, in Nigeria who now is in Dubai working, that could be particularly difficult. A Brit working abroad with an existing bank account and maybe an existing mortgage, that's a very, very good situation to be in. Certainly, if anybody has got an existing mortgage or a property in the UK, then it opens up so many more doors than a first timer, that's for sure. Those people in Australia, in Spain, from different nationalities, nationality does come into it, but there are lenders for them, yes.
It says, I'm 60. What sort of mortgage terms are available in terms of, you know, the length of the loan and loan to value to an older borrower?
Okay, so I'm same age as you, a little bit older. If you go interest only, it makes no difference, obviously, to your monthly payment. If you're going to go capital interest, it's 10 years, up to age 70. Or even 65 with some lenders. So age doesn't matter if you're going interest only. What it does mean, interest only, if anybody's not familiar, is that you borrowed 100,000 and after 5 years, 10 years, you still owe them 100,000, but you sell the property, pay the mortgage company back, and that's your profit. So that's the way interest only works. So I hope that answers your question, Nigel.
Sorry, yes, okay. Sorry, I was muted as I replied to that. Yes, that's right. And just one other question, if I may, from somebody here. People are asking here, how long can they fix the interest rate for in the UK? Is that something? I heard something from a friend that they had an offer, which, and I don't think they were expats, but they may or may not have been, that they were able to fix for, you know, sort of 20, 30 years or whatever. Is that possible or not?
In the newspaper this week, there's a lender out there who's going to fix your mortgage rate for 40 years. But that's not open to expatriates. It's actually just for people there. But that is extraordinary. Back in the UK, I can get fixed rate mortgages for people from the Woolwich Building Society, which were 25 years. At the time, and I'm going back a bit now, Nigel, interest rates were 15%. So nobody really wanted to do that. And typically, say with NatWest and Barclays, you can fix for 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years. Or you have a floating rate, which is linked to the bank base rate, which, to be honest, with interest rates as they have been so low for so long, most people just go variable.
Yes, I have personal bitter memories of that 15%. I purchased a property and I think I was paying something like 5% when I purchased it, and a few months later I was paying 15%, and my outgoings were somewhat different. It was a very painful.
It was extraordinary times, and in fact the rate went up to once overnight 18%. If you remember, and you probably do, when we left the ERM all those years ago, and the pound was hanging out to dry. So yeah, 18% fixed at 12, interest rates 15, and now we're talking about 3.5 up to 4.5%. You know, the funny thing is, Nigel, is the lending criteria from when you remember and I remember was 3.5 times your salary, and now it's approximately the same, although it's done in a totally different way. And yeah, really proportionally, it should be like 10 times your salary to put you in the same position. But yeah,
I remember talking to my grandparents, and they had bought a house for £70, and it was something ridiculous like that, and it was 3.5 times what he was earning at the time.
Yeah. Well, my first property I bought was in Newark. I never went there. It was an off-plan purchase, and the purchase price was 13,500, and I borrowed 10, which was 3.5 times my salary as well. So now for the younger generation, it's tough. Which is why we have buy-to-let mortgages, where it's really based on the rent coming in.
Okay, anyway, thank you. I'll leave you.
No, I enjoyed the questions. Thank you. Yeah, as a fact, Jason mentioned earlier on GetGround. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is the company that we've partnered up to, and they are brilliant. They will set up a company, and do you know what? It doesn't cost that much. It doesn't cost that much. It's like £500 a year, or £500 and then £20 a year to keep it going. It's an extraordinary service because they're linked to the government. And yeah, as Jason said, if your ambition is to build up a property portfolio of 2, 3, 4 plus, then it's a great idea right from the word go to set up a limited liability company and buy it through there. It's no good acquiring 4 or 5 properties and then going back and saying, right, I should put them into it. You've got to do it there and then to avoid stamp duty and other taxes. So this actually, not a very exciting slide, but that's what we do. I mentioned the research. We provide the solicitors. We visit the sites monthly and send you videos. Sometimes there's a live video on one of the cranes. We mentioned Holborn mortgages, in-house lettings. We obviously market the properties 2 or 3 months according to the appetite before completion. We manage it and we can help with the tax insurance, as I mentioned, and then onwards to resale. So, you know, we have properties at the moment. If somebody wanted cash, we've actually got properties down at £65,000, believe it or not, in the UK, and upwards. I won't go up, you know, 1.5 million in London as well. So yeah, if anybody is interested in that, it is mortgage free. You can't take a mortgage on those lower price units. It's
You're doing yourself a bit of a disfavour there, Chris. Although it's not an exciting slide. I think what it actually talks about is doing you a disfavour, because this is the package. This is the flow for what you and I, of course, the company does for our clients, and this is very difficult, I think, as an expat, to be able to research areas and find good investments. You know, how do you find a solicitor that you can trust, you know, from another country? How do you visit the property to check the tenants haven't trashed the place? You know, where do you find a mortgage? You know, all these things that we do is very exciting, because I think if there was someone that is not living in the UK, to have a company that takes care of all of this with trusted partners, with very reputable firms, and help them to make lots of money and build a great portfolio is quite unique. I think, yeah, I don't think there's many companies out there that will offer to do that full package. And of course, with your priceless expertise, Chris, on hunting those top properties down as well to start us off, you know, what else could you need?
I take it all back. I will never ever decry this slide again, and I feel terrible now. I mean, really, you touched on a point which I really haven't said. You know, how does it work in practice, Chris? You know, with you, Jason, we speak to the client, find out what their appetite is, see how much money they want to invest, see what their timeline is, and then we'd say, right, okay, for the amount you look, we like Manchester. Here's a property in Manchester. The purchase price is 150,000. We can arrange the mortgage. It'll let out for, you know, £500, whatever it may be. And that's how we rationalise it. We're not here selling. You know, some people would say, actually, mum and dad are from Manchester. I'm from Manchester, like you are, Jason, and I only want to look at Manchester. But most of the time, people just say, look, I want a property investment in the UK, which fits my budget. And that's how we go about it. And typically, let's just say you, Jason, you find a property in Manchester, the purchase price is 200,000, and then you would reserve a unit. We'd help you obviously select, and that costs £5,000, which you get back when you exchange contracts, when you pay the 10% or 20% exchange of contract, which is done by the solicitors. Another question I always get, by the way, depending on where you are in the world, and the fact I'm living in Dubai says a lot, is how safe, you know, could I lose my money? Well, the government actually in the UK guarantee the first 10% on the exchange. And really, and Jason, I'm sure you'd agree, in the UK, there aren't that many cases where they don't get through to completion. They're well funded, they've got great demand, and they go the whole way. So although we've done the due diligence on it anyway, we feel pretty sure that's not going to happen. But certainly in the Lebanon and other countries, and I've spoken to people, that's one of their fear factors, but deposits are guaranteed.
Good, thanks, Chris. And yeah, in summary for everyone, I mean, by all means, if you want to find out more about how to start that process, where do I look, what do I do if I need to, to start to build that information I need to buy in the UK, please do get in contact with us directly, or of course through Expat Network. And yeah, first off, yeah, we'll have a conversation and find out a little bit more about what is important to you. Is it capital growth that's most important? Is it a strong rental yield? And then with the expertise, of course, along with Chris and the teams that we have in the Holborn property department, help you to start to source the best developments. In addition to that, we can help with the mortgage, we can help with the lettings and the management. And like I say, try and make that process as hassle-free as possible throughout. So I think that's all from me and Chris. But yeah, finally, for any questions, please do fire away.
Okay, well, I think we covered the questions as we went through, so there's no additional ones. I would just like to thank you both for that presentation, very useful, and we will be making this recording available so people will be able to watch it in due course, anybody who missed the live session. As Jason says, you can contact them direct, but the other option is any questions you have or anybody related questions to this or anything else. If you want to contact us, the simple address is expats@expatnetwork.com. So feel free to join us. And finally, I'll just thank Jason and Chris and say thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks for having us. All the best.
Yes,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.